What's up, guys? Today we are here in Spokane, Washington for the No Kings protest. We are in the belly of the beast right now. Going to talk to some people that we disagree with. This is going to be an interesting video today, so stay tuned, and this is going to be awesome. We already, it's already pretty interesting out here, but it's only going to get more interesting. So you guys might be able to see everything going on behind me right now. But yeah, let's get started. Excuse me, sir. Do you think that Republicans are racist?
I think all Republicans are racist.
Yeah.
No,
Do you think some are?
I think some are.
Can you name a couple? Excuse me, you guys. Do you guys think that Republicans are racist?
No.
No? Yeah?
Necessarily.
I think this whole Democratic Republic is a bunch of crap. We're all
Yeah.
For people. Yeah. We all
Yeah. I really appreciate that you guys have a blessed night. Excuse me, you guys. I was just wondering what you guys are out here supporting today.
health, science, and education.
Health, science, and education. Yeah. Have a blessed night, you guys.
You how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
I was just wondering what you're out here protesting today.
We're out here to support the country,
Support the country. How so?
to be Democrat,
You Democrat?
support the country, and be out here to support everybody that's wants to live without tyranny.
I want to live without tyranny too, but I'm a Republican. Do you think that the Democrat Republican back and forth has gone too far?
They just need to get together on the same issues and just to have a nice conversation between the two of them.
Absolutely. Do you think that Republicans are racist?
I don't think so. I think it all depends on the Republican.
Can you name one racist Republican?
No, I don't want to speak about that.
Okay.
Thanks.
Well, thank you. Have a blessed day.
Who are you with?
Donald Trump.
I'm just here. I'm myself. I'm a YouTuber.
Oh, okay.
It's the tyrannical and fascist behavior that we're getting from our administration.
I was just wondering, could you define fascism for me?
What?
Could you define fascism for me?
Well, no. Can you?
Yeah. So fascism, it actually has its roots in Nazism, which comes from Adolf Hitler's
Oh.
original party.
Fascism was originally started as an Italian art movement, and what it is it's technology primarily taking over government in a absolute manner, I guess you could say, without using the same terms. But and then Mussolini was actually the first adopter because he wanted to revive the Roman Empire, and then it spread, and the Nazis took it on because it suited their needs.
Yeah. So do you think that Trump's a king?
Not currently, but in some of his language, so, the way that he talks about some things, labeling loose ideologies as terrorist organizations, primarily like with the Antifa thing, it's worrying to me.
But do you not think that with burning down cities such as Portland, that it's not a terrorist organization?
They aren't burning down Portland, though.
They actually are. Yeah. If you watch the footage, they are burning. They're stomping on American flags and they're burning the city down.
They're at the ICE office every day, and nothing is burning.
I mean, there's a lot of footage from previous protests that did get out of hand, being played as what's going on currently. But what's going on right now, honestly, from people that I know that are down there, honestly, it's just pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
People in costumes just making a joke out of things. So,
Who are the people in costumes?
I mean, they're probably just folks like you and me, just people who think that it's inappropriate for federal law enforcement agencies to basically be ambushing immigrants who are going through and following the process. That's one of the biggest things that I think isn't being reported intentionally, that ICE agents are going to courthouses and they're nabbing people that are there for immigration hearings.
Can you give me one courthouse that ICE raided?
So in Seattle, there's a couple of instances of that. I don't have dates or the news stories on hand, sorry, but You know, there's that stuff. And then, you know, just here in town, there were two young men that were seeking asylum from Venezuela, who they got a request from ICE to go in for an interview. They were going through the process. They had asylum papers that had been approved, and on the spot they were told that their asylum had been denied, and they were detained on the spot. And see, ultimately, like that type of policy and a federal government saying that that is okay, that really does show a huge deterioration in trust. And you know, at the end of the day, I'm a veteran. That is not the kind of stuff that I fought for. You know, I fought for a country that we welcome people in, we treat them like human beings, and we should be a country of our word. When we say you can come here, we will give you a process to follow, we need to allow people to follow through. When we don't do that, we then become the bad guys because we're not living up to our word. We're not living up to the ideal set forth by the Constitution. We're not living up to the poem that's inscribed at the feet of the Statue of Liberty, the New Colossus. You know, those are the things that really get me going.
Well, yeah, I totally agree with you, and thank you for your service very, very much. I really do appreciate it. But I was just wondering. So you said that you did not fight for like the families to be separated and all that, but they came over illegally. So should they be deported?
So here's the thing: 90% of the, or I don't know the actual number, so I should say a lot of the deportations that are happening are ICE agents ambushing folks at hearings. You know, they're sending people letters requesting them to come in. They're nabbing people who are going through the process. Here locally, Martin Diaz, a young man that I've met personally, he was going through the process. That's why ICE knew where he lived. He was doing everything above board, everything the way that he should have been doing. Active, just amazing member of his community, volunteered. He would take young kids that were struggling and say, hey, you're going to work with me. I'm going to show you the trade, the construction trade. He and his wife ran a general contracting business here in town. He had a green card. He is the type of person that we want in our country. Skilled tradespeople, people who do respect the law, who are going through the process. And so, you know, I will give you the nod that when people simply jump the border and then they don't try to make things right, okay, yeah, because we do have laws, and I do support following our laws because, again, we need to be a country of our word, you know. But that goes both ways, you know. When a DACA kid, you know, gets ambushed by ICE just because they know where he is, you know, that's not okay, you know. A lot of these people are trying. They're trying. And to, you know, ambush them and send them away, and, you know, then there's the things like what happened early on in the administration with Mahmoud Khalil and Rameza Ozturk. You know, students that were passionate about, you know, our government's lack of action against an actual genocide going on in Palestine. You know, they were here legally. They should have been protected, but they weren't because they didn't fit what the administration wanted to make America. And that ultimately that's the problem. I think that's what most people around here today are protesting, is the fact that it appears that the Trump administration is not actually standing up for and honoring the Constitution. You know, and we've got a lot of evidence of, you know, warrantless search and seizure, which is direct violation of the Fourth Amendment. If you look at the Constitution, a lot of people say the Bill of Rights only applies to citizens. I'm sure you've heard that. So when you actually go into the Constitution, the framers of this country were no dummies. Okay? They were flawed though they may be, they were wise men. You know, I have a lot of respect for them. And so when you go through the Constitution, like when holding office comes up, they specify citizen. In order to be president, you must be a citizen, natural born citizen. Then you go to the Bill of Rights, Fourth Amendment specifically, and it says persons. Person means any individual physically occupying space within a U.S. territory or the United States of America. Those rights apply to you, me, even an illegal immigrant, if one were standing right here. They still have the right to have that judicial process followed because it's persons are specified. That's anybody. And we've seen that violated multiple times.
And final question: do you
Yeah.
think that Republicans are racist?
By and large, no. No, absolutely not. One of my best friends from elementary school, his dad died in the wool MAGA. We have hard conversations all the time, man.
Yeah.
You know, but he is the kindest, gentlest man. Retired commander in the Navy, you know, did 35 years of service. He's not a racist.
Can you name me? Do you think that some Republicans are?
I do believe that, unfortunately. And you know, again, I can't come up with exact, you know, exact instances of that, but you know, I'm sure that they're out there. You know,
Do you think that you can't name the exact instances because they don't exist?
no, because we have things like, you know, willful violation of the Fourth Amendment against illegal immigrants being supported.
But they're criminals.
By a bunch. No, not necessarily. We just
They broke our immigration laws. They jumped our border illegally, so therefore they are criminals.
we just talked about this. Some of them may have, but a lot of them are being nabbed while they're at courthouses going through the process.
If they would have done the process right the first time, they wouldn't be in those courthouses.
Not true. The two gentlemen that were from here who had asylum, they did everything by the book. They were still nabbed.
Okay. I understand that. But
So, but here's the point: the fact that there are voices in government that are allowing that to happen, that tells me that there is unfortunately some racist element going on, more likely than not. You know, and it's just if we didn't have a racist or at least a misguided interpretation of what's going on, we wouldn't be violating people's rights. Because again, the Fourth Amendment says persons. Persons. It doesn't matter because at the end of the day, do you have proof of citizenship on you right now?
no.
That's why the Fourth Amendment is important, because nobody carries around like their social security card and their birth certificate. I don't have it. You don't have it.
Right, but the government does.
Right. But if the government, if federal law enforcement can come and grab you without a warrant, which is what the Fourth Amendment guarantees, then you may or may not have an opportunity to prove your citizenship. And that's the problem. Fourth Amendment reinforces due process. It gives you that chance to be like, oh, hold up, bud. Here's my paperwork. We're good? We're good. And then it's like, sorry about the mix-up. Go along your way. So that's why I believe that there is unfortunately a racist element, you know, growing in the government, you know.
Can you name me one racist Republican, just like off the top of your head?
Unfortunately, I can't because, you know, quite frankly, I've kind of taken a step away from looking at the overly divisive stuff, you know. It's just a lot of the policies, I believe that there is evidence for that because, you know, if we didn't automatically assume that people were bad, then we wouldn't be violating Fourth Amendment rights. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but have we looked? Did ICE deport those two people from here?
Yes.
Let me finish. Because did they have any other criminal record besides that?
Nope.
Have you looked at the court documents?
I knew the Guardian personally. I've spoke with them, and I heard the story. They were 19 and a 20-year-old from Venezuela who boot scooted it up from Venezuela. I know that they stopped at the border of Mexico and waited a number of months to make sure that their asylum into Mexico would have been approved. I know that they were working with Latinos in Spokane here, a advocacy group, to make sure that things were good and okay. But their asylum had been approved. And that at the end of the day, that's the thing. An immigration judge at one point had said, "You are good to go." So, criminal background, whatever. At the point in time when a immigration judge says you're good to go, why should it matter? We all make mistakes. And if the violation was egregious enough, they would not be granted the asylum. They wouldn't be granted a green card, because I'm not going to stand here and lie to you and say that there aren't people with green cards and approved immigration status that don't have, some criminal history.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it does happen. But at the end of the day, immigration judges say you've had a clean record for a number of years, which is typically the case. You're working, you've been clean, here's your green card, here's your asylum status. That should be enough, But if they backstep, then yeah, I am one of those people who absolutely will stand aside and say, yeah, if you break the law, there are consequences, But a lot of these people, they have legal status, and it's being stripped from them, and that is really, really the problem.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you for
Yeah,
your service,
yeah,
and have
what
a
was your
really
name?
good night. I'm Logan. What's yours?
Logan, my name's Dylan. What's your YouTube channel?
Logan Kelly.
Logan Kelly.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll check it out, man.
Awesome.
Where do you put yourself on the political spectrum?
I'm a conservative.
Conservative. Okay, cool. Yeah, and just kind of like, what's your take on things that are going on?
I really like what the Trump administration is doing. I think that if you do come into this country illegally, you have to get out. That's definitely something that we need to enforce higher. I do not think that Trump is a king, because if Trump were a king, you wouldn't be able to be out here protesting this. And I don't follow Trump's rule. I follow God's rule. So
Okay.
I'm a hardcore Christian, and I love Jesus with all my life. So I'm more focused on my Jesus focused relationship, but I really do support the Trump administration. I think they're doing great things, and after Charlie Kirk's death, I do think that the youth of America are far more conservative.
That's fair. And yeah, what happened to Charlie Kirk, I think, is it's an example of all things bad. Honestly, like, did I agree with the guy? Absolutely not. He did replay some things that I don't agree with, certainly. But at the end of the day, like, our first freedom is of expression and speech. No one should ever face violence for voicing their opinions.
Absolutely.
And so, honestly, at the end of the day, like right now, you and I, we probably disagree on a whole bunch.
Right.
But civil discourse.
Absolutely.
Civil discourse. This is what keeps us together. My favorite founding father, Benjamin Franklin, said that when the spirit of debate ends, the republic dies. So this right here, this is what keeps America alive.
And especially because when people stop talking, that's when violence happens. That's when all that stuff happens. So
Absolutely. Like, when you're this close to someone, you can't shoot them. You
Yeah.
shouldn't shoot them,
right.
And so it's like that loss of any little bit of connection. That's the real enemy. And I mean, that's one of the reasons why, despite some of my extreme left friends, like, I refuse to silo myself like they do, because when you never engage with someone who disagrees with you, they lose their humanity.
Yeah.
And at that point, if I'm talking about supporting and promoting humanity, because ultimately myself, as a center left with socialist leanings, ultimately I believe that the government has a duty and a responsibility to take care of its working class. It's in the opening paragraph, the preamble of the Constitution, promote the general welfare. That is ultimately why I hold on to some socialist leanings. Because also any state would not exist without its working class. Therefore, they have a responsibility to that working class.
Absolutely, yeah.
But and most people would agree with that. But if we don't talk about things like that, we don't know that there are places where there are common jumping off points.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I think that the Trump administration, Trump himself, does kind of fuel a little bit of division and isolation with some of his rhetoric about, declaring Antifa a terrorist organization. Now, it's an ideology. It's not an organization.
Okay, so what about when the Biden administration tried to label Turning Point USA as a terrorist organization? Do you agree with that?
I was not aware of that. That is something that I'll have to look into, because, Turning Point, definitely don't agree with them, but I'm not familiar enough with them to have an honest opinion. But I will look into that, because again, it comes down to, like restrictions on free speech. You don't do that.
Yeah.
Because then we can't do this. We can't do this.
Right.
And this is important. So
Yep. Well, I really appreciate it, and you have a good day.
yeah, you too, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you. With that being said, guys, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Follow me on Instagram at Logan Kelly USA. Started that up recently. Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time.